The episode begins with a flashback in ancient Rome about the barbarian gladiator, a warrior with unmatched strength, speed, and savagery. He was called the Night Demon of Sicily. A senator with familiarity of the dark arts sponsored him, for he is a half-breed, birthed with human flesh and demon blood, possessing godlike strength and agility. Since the barbarian gladiator wanted to learn about human beings and their nature, the senator offered him a complete education on the field of battle. As a hybrid, half-human, half-vampire, the gladiator could stand in the sun. The gladiator turns out to be the new vampire who talked to the ancients from the present day in New York. In the present, Dutch and Vasily go to Dutch's old apartment to get some of her clothes. Because of some movement inside the apartment underneath the stairs, they get aware, thinking it might be a vampire. However, they find Dutch's roommate and assumed ex-lover, Nikki, who has been hiding there the entire time. When Dutch gets excited to see Nikki and seems ready to return to her, Vasily gets envious. Also, he is annoyed when Dutch decides to take Nikki with her to Vasily's place since she has a sprained ankle, and it is safe there. In the following scene, Palmer asks Coco to join him on a helicopter ride throughout the city, and she agrees. Meanwhile, an employee arrives to tell Palmer about Ephraim. Since Ephraim has not revealed the truth to Coco, he asks her to leave for a moment. The employee explains to Palmer that Ephraim has killed the gunman they had sent earlier and is untraceable. This scares Palmer, as Ephraim could reformulate his disease strain. Meanwhile, Ephraim, who has been hiding from Palmer's men, returns from Washington. Before going back to his residence, he walks inside a bar, where he cleans his shoulder wound with liquor and drinks the rest inside the restroom. He then sits in the bar and gets drunk. Later at Vasily's house, Vasily talks with Dutch alone, asking when she will talk to Nikki about all her money and laptop she stole. However, Dutch refuses to talk, saying it's not the right time since Nikki is hurt and terrified. Meanwhile, Satrakian takes Vasily's mind off Dutch as he takes him to a new factory location of Stoneheart Group, where Fitzwilliam had directed him earlier. As they explore the factory, they find an empty school bus of the blind children, and eventually a pile of soil from which the feelers had emerged. Soon the duo encounter the feelers, who attempt to attack them. Neither Satrakian nor Vasily is quick enough to take down any of the feelers. Surprisingly, the feelers start to go backward when they feel the barbarian gladiator entering the room. As the feelers crawl towards the gladiator, he quickly destroys each one of them. In the meantime, Dutch helps Nikki settle at Vasily's house with everyone else, and Ephraim returns home stumbling around as he is drunk. Later, Nora discovers Ephraim's wound and patches him up, while he explains that Palmer ruined their plan and got Rob and Lee murdered. However, Nora encourages Ephraim, saying they will work on their cure again and beat Palmer. Furthermore, she explains to Ephraim about Kelly and the feelers who came after Zach last night. Elsewhere, Palmer takes Coco on a helicopter ride, which makes her excited. Meanwhile, she asks Palmer about Ephraim since she overheard Palmer and his employee earlier. However, Palmer refuses to tell Coco the truth for her own safety and claims that Ephraim is responsible for 4 murders: Barnes, Rob, Lee, and the gunman, which is not completely true. Also, Palmer lies to her, saying he is doing everything to save the city. In the Stoneheart factory, the barbarian gladiator, a hybrid vampire, introduces himself as Quinlan to Satrakian and Vasily. Since he is looking for human soldiers to find the master, Quinlan wants Satrakian to work for him. Furthermore, he explains that he's been hunting the master for thousands of years. Although, in a flashback of Albania, 1873, we see Quinlan searching for Jusuf Sardu, the master, in his village, which was taken over by the Turned Ones and abandoned by the Healthy. He goes inside the castle and finds Sardu's cane, which he no longer requires after being the master. Back in the present, Satrakian is surprised to learn that Quinlan had the cane before him. As Quinlan tells his backstory, he reveals that Satrakian has been able to critically injure the master and has forced him to change his form. Satrakian is stunned to know the master has a new form now. He is even more overwhelmed when Quinlan informs that the master is nesting somewhere nearby. When Quinlan leaves to search for the master, Satrakian demands Vasily to get his dynamite as soon as possible to take down the building with the master inside it. Following this, after Vasily leaves, Satrakian explores the building and finds the master's old body on the ground. Meanwhile, Quinlan successfully finds Bolivar as the new master, accompanied by Eichorst. Elsewhere, Vasily sets up dynamite above them on the next floor. When Satrakian sees Bolivar as the master, he is shocked. Quinlan threatens to destroy the master. However, the master counters back, saying he will make Quinlan scream in agony, as he did to his mother. Consequently, this enraged Quinlan, and he runs towards the master to fight and kill him. Just then, the dynamite blows off, allowing the Master and Eichorst to escape the scene. Since Quinlan was so nearing killing the Master, he blames Satrakian for letting him get away. Furthermore, Quinlan says it's his fight with the Master, and he will take it from here and leave. Hearing the police siren, Satrakian and Vasily also leave the factory. Elsewhere, at the Stoneheart building, Palmer and Coco enjoy another drink in his office after the helicopter ride. As Coco flirts with Palmer and asks him about his past relationships, he admits that because of his poor health, he never had a relationship. Coco insists on seeing Palmer's bedroom. When she invites herself in his bedroom, she gets close to him, kissing and ending up in bed. Later that night, Satrakian reads an ancient book to learn about Quinlan, with Zach by his side listening to the story. Satrakian reads that no record exists till date to explain where Quinlan came from or how he was created. The book suggests that perhaps a clue lies in his nickname given by his Senator Sertorius, the Born. Hearing all these, Zach asks Satrakian if Quinlan is real or a legend, to which Satrakian replies he is both. Elsewhere in Aber, Ephraim and Vasily have drinks, discussing about Dutch and Nikki and the failed Washington attempt. After hearing Ephraim's story of Washington, Vasily asks what he is going to do next, and Eph replies he will kill Palmer. In the following scene, Eichorst picks up a wig for Kelly and teaches her how to do makeup and have control over her trembling hands. Furthermore, he explains that she will soon be able to speak normally and look exactly the same as she did as a human in order to hook Zach. At Vasily's house, as Ephraim plans on killing Palmer by shooting him from a distance, Vasily recommends him to an arms dealer named Jimmy Woo to get a rifle. Later, Nora asks Ephraim if he knows about Barnes' death falling off the train, which Ephraim denies. Later, when Ephraim and Zach arrive at the dealer's place, they find Jimmy Woo has been shot. Jimmy's daughter, who is terrified, pleads with Ephraim to help her father, when Zach reveals he is a doctor. Soon, Jimmy's daughter pulls out an emergency surgery kit from their warehouse, and F starts the surgery with Zach assisting him. Meanwhile, at the Stoneheart, Palmer and Coco wake up in the same bed together. After getting that close to Palmer, Coco insists on learning his secrets, especially concerning Eichorst. However, Palmer doesn't reveal anything to her, saying it's not the right time. Later that day, Palmer meets with the Cardinal, McNamara, and offers him $500,000 in gold for the Oxido Lumen. But the Cardinal says he will decide once he talks to another bidder. Meanwhile, Eichorst interrupts their meeting, causing the Cardinal to leave. After Eichorst's arrival, Palmer asks Coco to leave and gets into an argument with Eichorst. When Eichorst reveals that the Master has taken his new form in Bolivar's body, Palmer taunts him for not getting the opportunity even after these many years of loyalty and service. Furious and disappointed, Eichorst leaves the building, saying no matter what form, he will always serve the Master. In the following scene, Satrakian and Vasily meet with the Cardinal for Oxido Lumen, which has now risen to the price of $750,000 in gold. Although Satrakian immediately agrees to pay for the book, the Cardinal tells he has to talk to another bidder before he makes a decision. When Satrakian and Vasily leave the Cardinal's house, Vasily asks Satrakian how he will pay that big amount, to which Satrakian says they will simply steal the book from him. Elsewhere, at the arms dealership, Ephraim is successful in treating Jimmy. After the surgery, Ephraim asks Jimmy's daughter to give him a rifle instead of any money. Zach, who witnessed his dad curing Jimmy, asks him to try to fix Kelly too. Hearing Zach, Ephraim tries to make him understand that Kelly is no longer his mother now, but is a vampire. However, Zach is not ready to accept the fact, so the father-son debated once again. Next, we see Kelly driving a car, looking exactly like her old self. During a checkpoint, a police officer asks to see her ID and check her with a UV light. Just as she thinks she will not make it through the checkpoint, a vampire appears in a car behind her, which distracts the officer and she escapes. Later, she stops her car in a dark place where she takes her feelers out of the car's trunk. The same night, Gus and Angel, who have now bonded well, convince the Gupta family, the Indian restaurant owners, to leave their restaurant and go somewhere safer. Later, Anya asks Gus to join them. Gus, who has started to like her, accepts to go with them and they kiss. Meanwhile, Quinlan interrupts them and pulls Gus aside for a private word. Quinlan, who is making a team of human soldiers, asks Gus to join him and kill the Master. Furthermore, he explains that he was Vaughn's mentor, and also he is using the Ancients only to find the Master and destroy him. Initially, Gus denies to be a part of it, but when Quinlan explains that it is the only way to protect Anya from harm, Gus accepts. In the next scene, Eichorst goes to the Cardinal to get the Oxido Lumen, which now goes for $1 million. Instead of agreeing for the bid, Eichorst offers the Cardinal his life. When the Cardinal refuses the offer, Eichorst attacks to turn him, because after the Cardinal turns into a vampire, the master will be able to read his thoughts and locate the book. Meanwhile, Vasily and Satrakian break in to steal the book. As soon as they see Eichorst, they try to shoot him, but he escapes. Before the Cardinals transition into a vampire, Satrakian offers to kill him and send him to God's hand instead of the evil, in exchange for the name of the person who has the book. Turns out the book is with Rudyard Fonsku, the same boy that Satrakian had saved in the nunnery in 1966. Afterwards, when Palmer and Coco watch the news that the Cardinal has been murdered, Coco becomes more curious and questions Palmer if the murder was because of the oxydo-lumen. However, when Palmer doesn't spill the truth, Coco leaves angrily. Later, Ephraim and Zach return home to Nora. Shortly, Nora and Ephraim begin to argue upstairs, when she asks him to tell everything about the Washington trip. Finally, Ephraim admits to killing Barnes and indicates sleeping with another woman, Lee, who died in his arms. Before Nora really gets the chance to respond to Ephraim, they hear Zach talking to someone and sense trouble, so they immediately walk downstairs. Meanwhile, Kelly is outside the window, trying to convince Zach to let her in. Since she looks and sounds totally normal like her old self, Zach thinks she is her mother. Just as Ephraim runs down the stairs, Zach lets Kelly in. As soon as Kelly enters inside with the feelers, Nora tries to shoot her, but misses. While Kelly is about to infect Ephraim during the fight, Nora saves him right on time. Witnessing Kelly's activities, Zach soon realizes that it is not his mother anymore. When Ephraim and Nora shoot at Kelly, a few of the feelers leap in front of Kelly to save her from gunshots, and she finally escapes. Subscribe to see more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel grow. Don't forget to watch part 8 and series recap too. Thanks for watching.